Florida has some of the best sunshine laws in the country. Now, what that means is that unless it's a crime dealing with a child or a sex crime, typically most every other government document has to be released to the public upon request. It's called the Sunshine Law, the idea that sunshine is the best disinfectant, the best solution to government corruption. So if it's a government document, if it isn't dealing with a child or a sex crime, it's fair game. The public can get it. And you see a lot of this in the news media as reporters around the country will title their pieces, Florida man does this, Florida woman does this. That's because it's so easy for them to get all the details about a Florida crime. So that's why you see so many crazy Florida crime stories about Florida man doing X, Y, and Z. It's also true that in Florida, it's very easy to get to the bottom of the COVID-19 fatalities. They're not kept under such a heavy lock and key as we see in other states. So there's been a lot of good reporting trying to dive into the COVID-19 fatality numbers and figure out what's going on. And I found this website, Alachua, or I've even heard it sometimes pronounced Alachua Chronicle, a local news website in Florida, I believe around Gainesville. And they're just doing a deep dive into the COVID-19 death certificates. And a lot of the stuff, as you read this piece, it's easy. It's, they had heart disease, dementia, coronary artery disease, going through all of the comorbidities. And then I come across this story. Another case at Shands, a 35-year-old male was listed as a Dade County death from COVID-19. The decedent was working on the roof of a home in Middleburg on 5/28. It started to rain, and the decedent and his co-workers stopped working. Bystanders in the neighborhood and the workers on the roof observed a flash of lightning and heard a loud explosion, and several workers were thrown off the roof. Immediately following the lightning strike, a worker on the roof observed the decedent collapse, fall off the roof, and land face down in the grass. The decedent's muscles were reported to be contracted and shaking and caused the decedent's body to roll over onto his backside. This guy got struck by lightning. A roofer in Florida on a roof during a rainstorm got hit by lightning, thrown off the roof. They even said that here, following the lightning strike, workers observed a large hole on the roof that appeared to be burnt. This guy was struck by lightning. And yet when he got to the hospital, they gave him a COVID test and he tested positive for COVID-19. So guess how this guy was coded? This guy was coded as a COVID-19 fatality with a comorbidity. Think about that for a second. A roofer on the roof, struck by lightning. Multiple people thrown off the roof. He's thrown off. Roof is singed and burnt. He's laying on the grass, shaking uncontrollably. Brought to the hospital, and they list him as a COVID-19 fatality when he ultimately passes away. And listen, any loss of life is tragic. But if the health officials in this county, in Dade County, are willing to make this up, right? Being struck by lightning is not a comorbidity. Being struck by lightning is the cause of death. I mean, we saw this last week in Florida as well. A guy was shot in the head and listed as a COVID-19 fatality, saying that he died from COVID-19 with a comorbidity. No, being shot in the head is not a comorbidity. Being shot in the head is your cause of death. Going back even another week, we saw the crazy case of a man in his 20s being killed in a motorcycle crash. He tested positive for COVID-19 post-mortem, and he was listed as a COVID-19 fatality with a comorbidity. Dying in a motorcycle crash is not a comorbidity. It's the cause of death. So I don't want to get too far into this, but you have to ask yourself, if a health official is willing to look at a case, a credible case of someone being struck by lightning, a roofer being struck by lightning, thrown off the roof, if he's willing to look at a case of a man who was struck by lightning and basically coded as a COVID-19 fatality, ask yourself what other games he'd be willing to play with the numbers. Again, I don't want to accuse anyone of anything, but if someone's willing to code a motorcycle crash, a gunshot wound, and a lightning strike all as a COVID-19 death, then just think about all the other cases that probably were arguable. I mean, a lightning strike is not arguable. If a man was a roofer on a roof, struck by lightning, bunch of people saw it, the roof is singed and burnt, and there's a hole in it from the lightning strike, and he's thrown off the roof, right? That's not even debatable. But if they're willing to do that with that case and label that as a COVID-19 case, think about all the debatable cases. The debatable cases, the people who show up with terminal illnesses, right? People, and we're going to find more and more about this as we go on, right? We're going to learn more about this as we go on. People were showing up to the hospital with terminal diagnoses. People in their 80s and 90s who've been told you probably only have a few months left to live, dying from COVID-19. All of a sudden, COVID-19 killed them under basically the supposition that they were completely healthy to begin with. We're going to learn that there were a lot of very debatable cases. Very debatable cases. People who had heart attacks being classified as COVID-19, right? People who, there was a person in Florida who died from a long fight with Alzheimer's being listed as COVID-19. And their condition had been deteriorating significantly in the lead up to their diagnosis. Not because they had COVID-19, but because they just were losing a fight with Alzheimer's. Right? You gotta be questioning this stuff. You gotta be asking the questions. And you have to think, if they're willing to code a lightning strike as a COVID fatality, what other games are they willing to play? What other liberties are they taking with the data? Because you know they're not stopping there. If they think they can get away with lightning strikes, you know that they're playing other games. Well, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Please do leave a comment. Please do like the video. Please do share it. It helps us get and reach more people. Otherwise, Facebook, YouTube, their algorithms hide our videos. So please do hit the like button, hit the share button, and comment. It really helps us out a lot. Thank you.